Sweet Billy boy, if you had a gun to your head, Billy gun to your head, Bart gun to your dick, who's your favorite Batman?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I do love Michael Keaton. I really do. I don't know why everybody was so upset by that, but it's probably by default Christian Bale because I enjoyed those movies, even though he wasn't. No, fuck it. It's Keaton. No, it's Keaton. Keaton is my favorite. He's the best at both. I think Bale is the best in the suit.
Okay, so George Clooney's out. Val Kilmer out.
Way out. Yeah.
Ben Affleck out.
I think he's the best looking for Bruce Wayne, actually. Ben Affleck. No, Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck. Oh.
Ben Affleck looked like the Batman the Animated Series guy. Like he's just that build. Did you see that picture of him over the weekend? Just rocking all Boston with the Boston shirt, the Dunkin' Donuts.
Dude, when you posted that, if you haven't checked it out on @Pop Culture PD, like I literally thought that was like a Photoshop fake photo.
Right?
Till I looked up where that came from, and I was like, holy smokes. That is real, and that is current.
Yeah, and the best thing is, it's not even like his best meme ever. The best meme ever is him smoking when he's just like super stressed out.
I always think the best meme is that back tattoo.
Oh, that's a good one too.
I still don't know if that's real, by the way. Is that confirmed real?
What?
The back tattoo that he has.
I don't know.
Phoenix or whatever. But yeah, best Batman. It's just funny because everyone's freaking out, like you said, like Keaton's back, and some people are out. Like obviously we have our little dork shared universe where we have the opinions of those guys, but like I did read like some people like this is ridiculous. Now overall the thought of it is kind of ridiculous, but like Keaton was badass. Didn't people love that movie? Like isn't that a beloved film?
You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah, and I still believe if we're going to revive Michael Keaton's as the like Batman in the story of the DCEU, then we need a remastered version of like Bat Dance in the whole album. Because come on, that's just straight fire if they're gonna do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we're going there, effing go there.
Well, if you talk to the average teenager of today and you ask them what it is about pop culture that they like, and the first thing they'll say is the beat.
Get yourself addicted.
Welcome into the Pop Culture Piledriver. Get addicted to the content. I'm Jason Rossi. You can follow me across all social media platforms @Jason D Rossi. You can follow this very program in that Ben Affleck photo. You can like it. You can retweet it. You can do whatever the hell you want over on the Twitter machine @Pop Culture PD. We're not the police, and Pop Culture Piledriver is too long for us to do so. And if you do give us a follow there, it'll automatically make you taller. Because Bill, who doesn't want a little more height? And
I need it.
We all do, dude. We all do. And with me, as always, my tag team partner in the podcast sphere. He goes by Billy D 2411 across all the social media platforms. Slide into those DMs. They're wide open. He's Billy D. What's going on?
Hello. Yeah, I think you followed me on Peloton today.
I did, because I never used the function. Are you Billy D 2411 on Peloton?
I'm everywhere, man.
So am I. I'm at Jason D Ross, even though I'm thinking about changing that because my wife does a few of the classes because we have the mobile app. But me and former co-host here, we had him on, Emerson, we were talking about, I'm like, what's your username? And his location on Peloton is Inside You.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, he's a big fan of those all of those inappropriate but not like off the cuff type of stuff like hello Coors we're inside of you.
Yeah, he wants to bottle everybody's energy and put him in his protein shake and put him inside.
Drink them all up.
But yeah, I thought that was funny. Then I saw who he was following or mutually friends with, and then I saw your name there, and I said, "Oh, that son of a gun's I'm hitting that bitch up." You're private though. I thought that was interesting.
I am. Oh, I'll make it public. No worries.
Well, like it was requested. I don't think you just give away your follows and likes. But anyways, Bill, people can subscribe not only to you on the Peloton Billy D 2411, but they can also subscribe. And we would love a review over on iTunes. 5 stars would do wonders. I do have a little beef with iTunes. I have several people that sent me DMs of them reviewing the podcast, and I don't see it on the podcast app.
It takes a few days. I think it takes like 4 days. So if it's recently,
this was like weeks ago.
Oh, well, speaking of, a 5-star review and a 5-time champion, and, the topic today is going to be music in a little bit, but we got some other stuff to take care of. Sure. Did you see, though, that Bad Bunny, not up for Album of the Year, which is our topic du jour, but did a song about Booker T?
I'm bad. I'm going to pause on it because we have a lot to talk. He's going to be a topic of parts of this conversation because we'll go through some stuff. But I'm confused. The dude's aura is very confusing to me, and I kind of want to punch him in the head and at the same time dance to his music. But yes, we would take a 5-star review over on iTunes. If you're finding this podcast, you can be found anywhere your podcast can be found. So if you're watching us somehow on YouTube, check it out on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music. Like, subscribe right here on YouTube if you're there. If you're listening to us and you wonder, what do these weirdos look like? You can check that out at YouTube by checking Pop Culture Piledriver. And we're also on Facebook, part of the Dork Shared Gooniverse. Just search Dork and then put an S, so Dorks, and you'll see it. Like that, all the podcasts are live on there. Check them all out. And Bill, this podcast nonprofit, as Frank says, hi. Usually every January we get together and raise thousands of dollars. Unfortunately, with the pandemic that is ongoing, we will not be doing that. We'll be doing some fundraisers to raise some funds for students affected by cancer, as well as some people of their young adulthood from that 18 to 25 that don't get enough money. We do experiential events with the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. You can check out all the information at franksayshi.com. Would appreciate that as well. All right, Bill, do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first? And you're out of my mind. I have a phone call coming in that I don't think you can hear. What would you like to do? Go first, second? Or do you want me to just hit the intro? Did I lose Bill? Am I lost? Our internets have been crazy. I'm still here. But yeah, Bill's going to blame my internet. That was the thing that happened last week as well. But we shall see. But yeah, I'm actually going to start. I'm going to hit this and we're going to get into it. Oh yeah, I'll be out on my mind though. While our topic today will be albums of the year, Bill, what do you want me to go first? Or you want to go first here?
You can go first if you got something going.
Just in my head, like obviously big topic. We're coming off of sports, baby, it's big. This can relate to anything. I don't like when people just quit. I'm not a quitter. I'd probably have quit on things, but I don't like the idea of like without reason. So like the big story is like this Eagles team that, their coach putting in a backup, put like Jason Rossi in a quarterback and just like basically tank the game for a better draft pick, which is very smart, by the way. But I just think like, I don't like the idea of that. Like I hate the idea of like doing something that puts other people competitively in a disadvantage. It makes me uneasy, makes me uncomfortable. And I want to punch people in the face when it happens.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that either, but, I actually wish, our hometown team, we do this podcast in New England. I wish the Patriots, even though they're not my favorite team anymore, kind of did the same thing because they just had a middling year where they did absolutely nothing. They weren't up, they weren't down. They didn't make the playoffs, but they don't have a good pick. So they just kind of suck. And another thing that sucks is the Peacock Network. Holy crap. That is the worst app ever.
I need to hear about this. I saw your tweet about commercials. So is there... One, send me your username. Two, is it cost money?
Well, it costs money for premium, but there's two levels of premium. There's a $5.99 and there's a $9.99, or a $4.99 and a $9.99. The $4.99 is just to get in. I think it's kind of like a Hulu, so you still get that, but then to get like all of The Office without commercials, you need to get the Plus. These are like 3-minute like sets of commercials or like 3 blocks of 90 seconds of commercials. It's The Office. I have cable television. I should get this for fucking free. It's ridiculous that I'm watching The Office in 2021 and there's commercials on it. It's like, what are we doing? And the other thing that I'll talk about, which has been a joy to watch, did you ever watch The OC?
Bill, we brought this up earlier in this podcast. You once asked me of all the shows, because I've been catching back up. So I watch OC again. It's one of my favorite shows from 2003, Bill. That was literally like my jam. But yes, to answer your question, yes.
Okay, so huge miss by me not seeing this show.
Awesome show.
It is television, like masterpiece theater through the first few episodes. Like it's written well. The stories are incredible. It builds drama perfectly. It is one of the better told stories in the first 7 episodes I have ever seen in my life. It is
hyperbole. We got him.
But it's brilliant. Everything that I have a question about is answered later. Sandy Cohen could be the greatest dad in television history. And we left him. I know we left him off the list.
We didn't.
I did. But you know what? He would be right there with Uncle Phil, and I'm only 7 episodes in. He really would. He is great so far.
He is great, but he's not. Uncle Phil's like the guy.
I think anytime you take in the from out of no town, was up to no good, started making trouble in my neighborhood. Like he put that in with the kid Ryan, and he is awesome. Every character on the show has a purpose. I am blown away by how good the OC is. Just floored.
There's a comment in here. I'm not commenting because I know not everyone's watching this virtually. Fryer, that is not me. That is not me. No, it's a great show. The OC is one of, I've said it when we had our like what to watch. It was stream only. I don't even think that was a podcast at the time, but like it was it's a must restream or watch again because it's easy, digestible content, fun, likable characters. Early things get a little weird. We'll talk about it, but
so well written though, shockingly well written.
Josh Schwartz. He did this. Then I want you to watch Chuck after because that show's one of my all-time favorites. Josh Schwartz, I didn't want to follow through Gossip Girl, but he is excellent. Him and Mick G are like a team of teen drama and like quirky dudes and like good storylines. Really good show. You nailed it. That show debuted in the summer, Bill. So those episodes you're watching were like the summer season. Ooh. And it was hot out the gate, better than 90210. Fight me, people. Really good stuff. But yeah, OC's great. One last.
Oh, no, you got.
No, you go.
So, as
I was going to say, now you go.
One last thing.
As I was saying.
Because I just happened to do it the other night. I watched Tangled and Frozen back to back. And the question is 100% confirmed, answered forever. Tangled is by far the superior movie. Frozen's plot almost doesn't make sense.
Yes! Who is this guy? Where, Bill, I could kiss you on the lips, but we're separated by more than 6 feet, like 6 miles. Honestly, Bill, I end the podcast. Let's never record anything ever again together because we're never going to be more in sync than this. I've said Tangled is GOAT material when it comes to like recent Disney movies. So damn good. And again, Chuck, there's another tie in there. That's actually
he's the guy.
Mandy Moore. The voice acting in that movie's great. The mother, again, that was going to be my villain song till we kind of weirded it up in loud animated what do you call it? Nightmare Before Christmas.
She might be the most gruesome villain in the history of Disney just because she's passive aggressive. She stabs a dude and kills him in a Disney movie.
Doesn't care either. Just wants to look young. You know how many women would do that? Yeah. Great movie. I don't dislike Frozen, but I don't like the arc of Frozen. So I've always said Tangled to me, like I haven't seen this Soul yet, and I'm nervous to watch it because
I gotta see it.
I don't know if I'm gonna overly love it. I have to wait for the hype because everyone's saying it's great, and it also was released the same time as Wonder Woman, which sucked. But yeah, no, good stuff, Bill. I honestly don't want you to. Can you not talk the rest of the show, or I won't talk. But that's great stuff from you. I will just say one last thing. Recently, a podcast that you used to really like once made an intro, the Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard. Mm-hmm. They did an Ask Bruce Anything episode, and I always send questions, never get answered. Both my questions made it on the episode, Bill. Gave me a little 6 to midnight when you hear your own name in a podcast. And sometimes I hear it on Dork Podcast, too. Those guys always give me pleasantries. Changed my mind sometimes, said some really great things about me as well. But with all that being said, I asked this question. I actually want your answer because I'm intrigued. I said, if one of these 4 wrestlers could never existed, so anything that happened with them never was taken out of time, it was Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and The Rock. A, what would your answer be? And B, what do you think Bruce Pritchard, head writer, creative during that heyday, what do you think his answer was? I
mean, for me, it's got to be Bret Hart because I love all of the other ones. The Rock kind of... Like you're talking about 2 of the Mount Rushmore guys and Stone Cold and The Rock. And then Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart. Shawn Michaels had 2 illustrious different styles of careers. So Bret Hart's out. And I think that he might eliminate The Rock because he went Hollywood. I have no idea what he would do. He's an idiot anyways.
He said Bret Hart as well.
Oh, it's true though.
It's not. I think it should be Shawn Michaels. I know he had that great second run, but the guy was an absolute dirtbag, ruined a lot of things in his first run. Just my opinion. But no, I thought it was kind of cool. And it's just an interesting question to think like that. We could bring that to the DSG with like movies or actors. But I said Bret Hart because out of all the others had just that larger overall impact, especially The Rock and Stone Cold. You couldn't get rid of those guys because the impact they had for the company financially.
I mean, people are still doing the suck it to this day. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, who I don't really like, does the Bret Hart like flex, but that's about it.
And he also does the belt. But yeah, that's all I have for that stuff. So a lot of good stuff here, Bill. But today we turned the calendar. We're officially in 2021. All the podcasts across the board, aside from Mac and Goo, because they always do this movie, but we'll talk about that later. We're talking about the year that was, which was 2020, which at the end of the day will go down as the worst year ever.
Well, of our lifetime, I think people who were born, prior to around 1920 probably saw some tough times too.
They're dead. Let's be honest. No one that was around the age of us or a little 10 years younger is still alive. That was affected by that.
Sure.
And if they are, thank you for watching and listening. Subscribe on your grandson's.
I don't think we have many 95-year-old Holocaust survivors as our listeners.
Might, you never know. It's a demo. But yeah, so 2020 was the year that we had. There's a lot of things people can talk about. We're going to strictly talk music, which I want to say when you suggested this topic to me and I first said, I was like, because it was the odyssey of music. A lot of artists delayed albums, like everything else, like movies that we've seen. A lot of people push back stuff, but then people that put stuff out, I think it's going to also be like, we'll talk about this because we each are going to kind of talk about some of our favorite albums, but I think those that put out got more attention based on it because we're living in a time of streaming and radio play not being the most important thing. And like TikTok being like now a part of like what subscribes to being, becoming a number one record as long as it like registers. So I think it was a good year to put out some pop albums. I think that's kind of where I saw a lot of the bigger albums coming from and not your big home run artists, but artists that found their niche.
Unlike 1990, I think 2020 is going to go down as a good music year. There's a couple of albums that are up for Album of the Year. Post Malone's came out in 2019, which is really strange. And even Sunflower is on the album, which he is nominated
That's
for.
Your jam.
Hollywood is
That's your jam right there.
That's my jam. And of course, Circles, probably the song of the year, even though it did come out in 2019. So he had an unbelievable year. We can just start. You want to just get into this?
Well, yeah, let's real quick. The album of the year nominated Grammys coming up January 31st, which is also the same night as the Royal Rumble. Both equally exciting in my life. Album of the year is, I'm going to butcher the name of this.
Janae
Akio, but the name of the album is it Chilmobo? Chilmobo. We're going to go with it. Just move on. Black Pumas is the artist. Everyday Life by Coldplay, also released in 2019. Great album, but didn't have it on my list. DeJesse Volume 3 by Jacob Collier. Woman in Music Part 3 by Haim.
That's going to be one of the ones I talk a lot about.
Good album. Future Nostalgia by Dua Lipa. Hollywood's Bleeding by Post Malone, as you mentioned. And Folklore by Taylor Swift, all nominated for Album of the Year. Even if you have these albums to talk about, Bill, what do you think the Grammys? Who do you think is going to win the Grammy, regardless of what you think of these albums?
So Jacob Collier is basically like a Mozart type kid. He's like a musical genius. When you listen to the album, there's a lot of stuff that I'm sure, Davey would love because it's very musically impressive. It's incredible. Like, yeah, it's unreal, but to me, it's all kind of like, I'm here for enjoyment, not necessarily for you to impress me. And when he's asked about that, like, why doesn't he make like a little bit of simpler song? He's like, I just can't turn my brain off. And I don't think it's like a dick way of him, like just trying to prove he's a great musician. I think he's just like, this is what I like to create. And this is what I'm creating at the time right now. He put out a video and I'll tweet it out in a little bit of him, basically playing out the notes to spell out happy 2021 or just 2021. And that would have been the best song on his album because it was a little bit more fun and funky. It's a great album.
On your face.
Yeah, it's a great album. I think he's put out 3 albums in this year alone. So he's brilliant. And there's a lot of good people on this album. It's just not necessarily something I'm going to listen to, sit down, put on and enjoy with like a glass of, my old fashioned over here or a glass of wine. It's more of just like, if you like technically proficient music, he's your guy.
So you think he's going to win the Grammy?
I think he could. If not, I think, and this is the one I'm going to talk about the most. This is one of my 2 that I'll be nominating. Haim, Women in Music. Unbelievable album, top to bottom. This is something you can listen to. This is something that has great lyrics. And these ladies, I don't want to say they're like not pretty because they are, but they're like you and me. They're not like your classic, super beautiful, like Dua Lipa type of artist. They're girls. and they made a song. They made a ton of songs that are super honest. FUBT, Fucked Up But True is a great one. I mean, I'm gonna save them because I'm gonna talk about them the most. But I think those are the two that it would probably come down to. If Post Malone winds up winning, it's just kind of like we missed you. Here's your reward. Like when Kobe got the MVP the year he didn't deserve it.
Yeah, for me, I think it's Jacob Collier, actually, because if you notice, the Grammys kind of have a trend. Like, it should be kind of, we'll talk about it, but I kind of feel like it should be Taylor Swift if we're going off of, I think, what makes a good album, popular, all the elements. But I think it's going to be him for all the reasons you said. A couple of years ago, Beck won Album of the Year when he made a folky album. What's his name? Recently won one. I can't think of the name, but yeah, that's where I would go. Also, in the year of 2020, Bill, can you guess what was the most streamed album? The
most streamed album?
Yes.
It would have to be Taylor Swift.
Folklore by Taylor Swift is the best-selling album, and it had the longest run at number one and was the most streamed. I'm sorry, that's the number one album and the most purchased album. Most streamed album, I was incorrect. You have another guess. You get another guess. So that was the highest.
I would guess Post Malone, just because he's Post Malone.
It was not. It was YHLQMDLG from Bad Bunny.
Oh, okay. Oh, like the individual song. Yes, I know. I actually would have known that. I always get confused.
That's the name of the album.
No, I thought that's a record. Like record is a single, right?
No, it says the most album. It says the most streamed album with 3.3 billion streams. And then it was followed up by The Weeknd After Hours. Post Malone's Hollywood's Bleeding was third. But yeah, F you with that album title, by the way, Bad Bunny. That's what I want to say.
Bad Bunny. I mean, I do like a lot of his music.
Bunny. F is Bad Bunny.
I like to dance. He's a dancing kind of guy. One of my guys, Samir, at work, you know him from the DraftKings streams. It's his favorite artist, his most streamed artist. So he loves him. It's a big world. We're living here in the States. We're living here specifically in Massachusetts. We're probably not listening to much Bad Bunny. I do like a lot of his songs, a couple good ones. So, I will, occasionally pop on if I want to, dance around the room.
All right. So we're both going to talk about 5 albums. I don't even think I think we just put 2. What's your favorite album? What's my favorite album? We let the people pick between them.
Oh, no, we have to put 2 each.
2 each it is. All right. So I don't know what I'm going to do, but we can just go ping back and forth. We both are selected 5 albums that we think is our favorite albums. You want to go first? Or want me to go first, Bill?
You can go first.
Ladies first. I will first nominate, I think, one of the better albums of the year. An artist I wasn't sold on and absolutely dove into this album and listened to it a lot earlier portion of the year, right around the pandemic kickoff. It is The Weeknd's After Hours. That album is good. It has the desperation that I like in the vocals. I just think this guy's developed from being, I don't want this to sound bad, but I kind of found him to be like a goofy artist. Like a lot of his songs were like had like a lot of meaning to him, but had all that satire, like I can't feel my face when I'm with you, but I like it, like drug, all that stuff. And then there's some slurs music that he made in the past. But this album kind of brought it all together. It was well produced, well put together. Lyrically, it's good. And one thing I always like if I'm going to dip into like hip hop and pop albums, if you would, like it's not a super long album either. Like it has, I think, like 14 tracks, but a few of those are like real quick. I liked it. It's digestible. It was easy to stream. Now that I'm a streamer, it feels weird. I'm still a CD guy, but yes, After Hours by The Weeknd. And also, everybody knows it was the absolute freaking banger of the year. Blinding Lights was like, you couldn't miss that song this year.
No, it's a great song and he's a great artist. I actually picked all album of the years ones to talk about because that's what I was sinking my teeth into here. Sure. But, he kind of had a new sound a little bit too. Like I think a lot of people kind of dug into that 80s fusion, you might want to call it. But the song that you just mentioned is definitely that. For me, I'm going to go with Black Pumas. Black Pumas. I mentioned it in the DSG chat. This album, if you like, funk fusion, these guys rip it. It is a great album. The only thing that I would criticize about there's 21 tracks, so it's really long. It's really good. But I don't like the fact that they don't really deviate. They have one kind of sound the whole time and they stick to it. It's very good, but there's not a single track that when I hear it, I'm like, this is way better than the one before it or the one after it. But overall, obviously, it's album of the year, up for album of the year. It's a great album, and I had no idea who these guys were until we started doing the research for this list. So I'm glad we did this list.
I'm with you. Until I saw it was the nominations came out, I think like a month ago. That's when I first heard, and I was like, let me listen. Not necessarily my cup of tea, but am intrigued by what I heard. So I think it's something now that you're giving it a little more stamp of confidence, I might check it out as well. As I said, for me, this has been the year of pop, which usually isn't my go-to. I'm more of like an alternative rock, folk, indie. I'm going to let you know there's no. Well, I won't say an honorable mention, I guess, because we're not really doing that right now. But Miley Cyrus, Plastic Hearts. Miley Cyrus, for the 15th time in her career, Bill, has evolved herself. She has now take on this almost like glamour 80s vibe, and I really dig it. It's an album that I didn't think I would like. I streamed a couple of the songs. She did that Blondie Heart of Glass cover, and I fell in love with her all over again. Miley Cyrus can kind of rock. People don't want to give her the credit for that, I don't think, and just think, because she's also had some really weird, like, so in that moment, like whatever that song, like this is our house, we do drugs and party, whatever that song was a few years ago, sounds just like that. Play that back anytime. But this album itself, banger tracks throughout it, has the single where she samples Fleetwood Mac. She has a lot of inspiration on this one from 80s music. I just dig what she did here. I don't think this album was intended to be released this year. I think she kind of rushed it, which I appreciate as a music consumer. And I think her fans really love it because Miley Cyrus has almost as advocating fans as Lady Gaga, like people that will like defend her to death. So this album's great. It's worth watching some of her music videos. She looks great. The little short bob haircut, I think, works for her. Highlights the face, the voice. Miley Cyrus' voice is one of the more intriguing ones, I think, of our like recent generation, because sometimes it sounds super whiny and young, and then other times has like this
soulful.
Yeah, and that's what you get a little bit more on this album, but it's still danced in with some of the like music that I call would be like caught in 2020 or like won't sound good in 10 years, but I really like this album again. Plastic Hearts, Miley Cyrus.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to sell me on Miley. She's my girl from, See You Again, which is one of my all-time favorite songs.
Jam, dude.
Absolute winner, Party in the USA. So I'll check this one out. I haven't heard too much besides the main ones here. And I actually am going to talk one that isn't the album of the year. I actually thought it would have been the album of the year. That's why I kind of considered it in there. It's new. I haven't heard it all the way through multiple times, just once, but Fiona Apple on the scene once again, fetch the bolt cutters. I mean, it's not exactly my type of music, but it's a well-composed album, and she's getting a lot of hype. I think if she had waited to release this or released it sooner, maybe she could have been up for album of the year and maybe won it, because this is one of those ones. Didn't she win album of the year before? Her debut album? She
was Best New Artist,
yeah.
And she has intermittently released albums, but mostly just kind of lived her own quiet life. She released that album this year, and I stayed away from it. It was one of those things, Bill, that I'm going to, like some movies I'm going to watch it later, and then later just doesn't seem to show up, like, let's say The Office. But for me, this Fiona Apple album, a lot of people in the music circles that I know were like, oh, you should listen to this. Hey, check this out. And I'm like, yeah, I will. And I didn't. And then when we talked about this, I'm like, I should probably listen. I didn't. I will give it the time. It's nominated, I think, for best like indie album. It has a couple nominations for Grammys, but I've heard nothing but rave reviews. Definitely has to be an acquired taste. If you're, like I said, I thought 2020 is the year of pop, and this is definitely not poppy from what I've heard.
No, but again, probably, turn our nose up here. Davey would call this an instant classic, but it does have, a good sound. It's a little bit like unique in the way it's, kind of a different kind of Fiona Apple. So it's something that I would definitely check out.
Yeah, I agree. It's something I absolutely will. This, like Black Puma, I'm intrigued by. I don't know how deep I'll get into it, but this one I'm definitely going balls deep, Bill.
No, you would like Black Puma. It has a very, funky soul sound.
I'm all about that fusion. And next up for me, Bill, is another pop album. This is one that was listened to in my house because my wife has my little guy, and we like to play like adult music. We're not into like the kids bop stuff necessarily, and I hope to avoid that if I can. We shall see. Living in pandemic, he's not going to be influenced by like I don't know, libraries or outdoor world. But for me, it's Future Nostalgia by Dua Lipa. Not an artist I've actually loved. That New Rules a couple years ago, I was like, oh, what is this? I hate this type of music. Then this album, it played. She would play it. We'd stream it in the house. And she was really into it. So then I leaned on it. Then I started listening. And then to find out how she's a co-writer. Take that for what it's worth. It's like being a producer on a show these days. I think just to get more money. But she co-writes her music. Obviously, a lot of people what was the big song? I can't even think all of a sudden. But she's obviously she's a huge pop artist. She's kind of become that sex symbol. And I just as I listen through this album, there's a song called Love Again, and there's a song called Break My Heart that are just like great jams, bangers, having fun with it. So
she collaborated with a lot of the guys from Vampire Weekend, and this is one of the records I'm going to talk about. So I'm going to dovetail off of you, or as we say, kickflip in the business. She also sampled White Town on this, which was fucking out of control. So this is one of my favorites. It'll be one of the two that I nominate. I'll just get that out of the way now. I think this is from the start one of the strongest albums I've heard in a long time. I like dancey pop music. I'm not going to lie. Yeah. From start to finish, there are bangers, whammers on this album that are incredible. Future Nostalgia is a Prince-esque fucking turn it all the way up in your car, turn the windows down. This song fucking rocks. I mean, every single song is very, very good. She's up for a bunch of Grammys, I think, for different songs throughout this album. So it's a solid album all the way through. I think the second track is also a single.
Don't Start Now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fucking banger. So Future Nostalgia is one of the best albums of the year, and it contains what I think is the best song of the year and could compete with Bruno Mars for Uptown Funk at weddings when we finally get back to them with Levitating. That was the song that I cut for the what is it? The
Top
Women's
11.
Wrestling Top 11.
We got booted off of YouTube for that.
Yeah, of course we did.
We're going to need an edit on that.
Yeah, I wouldn't even be mad at that. But like every track, Cool is a great track. Levitating is unreal. The remix with DaBaby. Who doesn't like DaBaby? Don't Start Now, another ridiculously good track. Like you said, Love Again is really good. And then I believe it's Boys Will Be Boys is just, I'm sure she helped write that track because it's a very, feminism, woman power type of song. But it's a damn good song as well. So this is my favorite album of the year to just like put on and listen to, because you can listen to the whole thing start to finish, and and enjoy it. Every song you can enjoy.
And here's one of my favorite things, especially about pop bubblegum albums. I don't care if you're talking about that. Remember the song Jerk It Out by the Caesars?
Oh yeah.
They had an album called 21 Minutes to like Paradise. I can't remember, like 21 minutes. The album was 21 minutes long. This album is 37 minutes long, Bill. That's what I like. That's what makes me like, again, I grew up in the CD era. I still listen to CDs. I'll put them in, and you see right on as soon as you pop a CD and it tells you the length of everything, 18 tracks, hour and 15 minutes. Like, oh, that's a lot. When I saw this, I didn't pop it in. Don't get me wrong. I just saw it on the stream service. It's at 37 minutes. I said, I am all in. I can work to this. Good background music, good party music. It's got it all going on. Dua Lipa, Future Nostalgia. Gonna say that's gonna make it to the poll. Next one for me. Do you want me to go chalk, or do you want me to go with the one that I think is a little off the radar?
Go chalk.
Chalk is Taylor Swift's Folklore. This is based on kind of the narrowing of this song. This album was in your face. You couldn't avoid it. So I actually listened. I remember me and my wife, when we used to eat outside on our deck, we used to just kind of play this because I don't love this album, but I still think it's one of the better albums, if that makes sense. It's mature Taylor Swift. It's something I think people wanted for years, when she's not lovesick in the same way. She's not making fun of her exes. She's not glamorizing her exes. She's talking about being a mid to late 20s single woman who's had her heart broken, who has loved. And I think these are the albums that pivot you. Lady Gaga did this a little while back, not in this type of same way, but like the stuff she did with Tony Bennett, to the stuff she did after she kind of like when she got rid of the meat dresses and became less of a gimmick and made herself more into a pop artist. Those maturing albums, I think, will take her to that next level. This was a good year for Taylor Swift. She released another album like a month ago, but this album actually spun a lot. Cardigan's the song that everyone talks about. And everyone likes, but to me, at the end of the day, aside from gathering every woman from the age of 16 to 34 and making them all love this, I just think it's a pretty quality album. She did a good job. I like to see it as a representation of a man in his mid-30s. I enjoyed it. Again, not my favorite stuff from Taylor Swift, but I thought that maturing stuff really got me, and one of the better albums released.
Yeah, it's really, really good. I listened to it twice within the last probably 4 days just to prep for this podcast. It's Taylor Swift at her folkiest, it's, super country, super, it's just not my style of music, but she does connect with the audience really well. And I knew for a fact anytime she puts out an album, it's probably going to be the most streamed or the most bought, because like you said, she has I would say even like 8 to 40 women just locked in. Like if you look at her Instagram posts, seconds after she posts it, she has multiple million likes. She is just one of the most captivating artists we've had in years. And again, 180 kickflip off of this, or whatever you call it, ollie off of this. I'll go to Heim Women in Music, which is my other favorite album, and it'll be the other one that I'll be nominating. It's a phenomenal album from start to finish. I think this is another one that you can just listen to end to end. Steps is one of the better songs, I think, of the year. But I think Now I'm In It, which is a bonus track, and I don't know how you judge bonus tracks. I think it's,
count them.
Yeah, like I like, it's like when they have a hidden song, it's part of the album. So, but I think this is fun. Every song's a little bit different. So I would encourage you, if you haven't heard this, to go out and listen to them. And like I said, they're not your typical, like, they're not like a Courtney Love. They're not like in your face. They're not like, even like, I don't know how to describe them. They're just like 3 chicks that just are like badass. Like if they win album of the year, they're going to give a great speech for album of the year.
I think they won a Grammy. I think they were like best alternative album a few years ago. They're like Dixie Chicks are on this side. If you want to use Hole or Alabama Shakes or something over here, they're right there in the middle. They're edgy. They're current, they're contemporary, but they push music and like they actually, it seems like they're making music they want to make, which is my big thing. I don't like, I've told really good things about Dua Lipa, but who knows what kind of artist she would really be if it wasn't a part of a machine. I don't feel like Haim's part of a machine.
Oh no, it's a good rock album. Like if you like, just good old fashioned music, like that old time rock and roll, this is the album for you.
When I was a kid.
Yeah. And they have such good lyrics. They have a lot of, little clever openings to songs as well. So a fantastic album. And we missed this, but they put out a remake of The Waitresses Christmas Rapping, which is fucking fantastic. And they're Jewish, so I love it.
There was actually an 80s album. It might have been the Waitress album or an album somewhere around there. There was all Jewish artists doing Christmas songs a while ago, like in the 80s or something. I saw that somewhere in my research. Last one for me, Bill, would be an album that I just was stunned by. An artist I have no interest in prior to this. Was another one of those things that, whether it's people I used to work with, people tweeted me or texted me saying like, "Have you heard this? This is right up your alley." I'm like, "Oh no, it isn't. I don't like that artist." That artist, by the way, this album also 36 minutes. Taylor Swift was 63. That was one of those ones I'm like, that's a lot. But this is a 36-minute album produced by Travis Barker. It's Machine Gun Kelly, Tickets to My Downfall.
Oh, he's great. And this is a good album.
Album is like 2000. Like if you like My Chemical Romance, if you like Paramore, if you like that time frame of like pop alt indie, not indie, but you know what I mean, that style of music, you will love this album. It is guitar rocking. He doesn't really rap in this album whatsoever. He has the hip hop vibe. It's so damn good. Travis Barker is a producer, has produced some of these really funky albums recently, but this one by far takes the cake. It is literally one of like the most fun albums I listened to the entire year. Obviously not nominated for anything. No one's really, it had a buzz there for like the weekend that it was out. Because he's with Megan Fox. He had beef with Eminem, but this guy, take all that stuff away from it. Take all the glamour out. This is just a kick-ass, like rockin' little track. This is so much fun. Machine Gun Kelly, take all your judgments. Listen to the album. If you don't like it, I'm fine with it. If you're more of the hip-hop fan, great. But this album is so much fun to listen to if you like guitars and all that. And he has a great cover of Misery Business, a song that Paramore no longer will play live, but nobody's playing anything live right now. Haley Williams put out an album this year. Didn't love it, didn't dislike it. That was my little honorable. But he does a great fun version of Misery Business. So if you like this song,
that's one of my favorite songs of
it's awesome.
That era. And you crushed it with this because I completely forgot this came out this year, and I was exactly like you. Somebody said, listen to this Machine Gun Kelly album, and I was like, fuck that. No way. And then I did. I was like, this is fucking good. And our friend Kevin, who's a big Eminem guy, and I know Eminem is just lyrically setting the world on fire, but I don't need to hear an old angry white man yell. I just don't. Or talk fast. Not my style anymore, not what I want to hear. But if you like fun, this Machine Gun Kelly album is for you. I was blown away by it because he's a moron. He played Tommy Lee in the
He was
documentary.
great. He was so good
awesome.
at that.
He was so good.
His stock in my book is just raised.
And the fact that they didn't cast him, I think Mac and Goot talked about this in the Pam and Tommy like TV show or whatever the hell it is that they were doing, is ridiculous because then you could have got Megan Fox or whatever to play Pam Anderson. But go check this out. And another guy, I don't want to say similar, but it's at least a guy. We've talked about a lot of women right now.
Kevin Federline?
No, Post Malone is going to be the next one. Just because I was, basically hitting the albums of the year on my research.
Bill's song of the summer this year was Circles. It came out in like early 2019.
But it's a phenomenal song. That Haim, I'm in It, and Dua Lipa Levitating, I think are the best songs that have been played on radio over the year. Circles is phenomenal. Hollywood is Bleeding is an amazing song. And that's another thing about the Dua Lipa album and this album. I love a CD or an album that just fucking comes out and rocks you in the face.
Right in the face.
And that is what this one does. That song is really good. But then after that, it's not that good of a Post Malone album. I think he's way better. For some reason, Sunflower is on this album as well. Whoa, which is also on this album, which I actually love as a song. Also a really old song. So basically, to me, if he wins it, it's basically, a Lifetime Achievement Award at his age of whatever the hell he is, because he was denied on his other albums, which were way better than this. So if he wins this, I think it's a slap in the face to the whole list. It is a good album, but I don't think it should be up for Album of the Year when most of these songs got their airplay in 2019 and before.
The Spider-Man Into Spider-Verse was like 2017.
It's crazy.
But here's the reason why. Here's the deal. It's because with hip-hop artists, we've seen this over decades, like they'll release singles and they don't put it out in an album, especially in the world we're living in today. Like 21 Pilots put out a great song this year. It's slipping my memory at the moment. But it was basically it was a song that they both individually recorded the music for, like we're doing, like separately, and then put it together. Long story short, that's not on an album yet. It'll probably be released as an album maybe in 2021, but the song technically was released in 2020. But yeah, I understand what you're going with here. So those are our 5. Again, for me, it's After Hours by The Weeknd, Plastic Hearts by Miley Cyrus, Folklore by Taylor Swift, Future Nostalgia by Dua Lipa, and Tickets to My Downfall from Machine Gun Kelly.
Yeah, I had Fiona Apple, Post Malone. I had Dua Lipa as well, Haim, and
Taylor Swift, right?
Taylor Swift.
Yeah. All right, so Bill, we'll go back and forth on this one. First one for you to be nominated for. Which one is your pick of Album of the Year, and then what's the 2 you'll put in?
So Bart gun to my head, Billy gun to my dick. It is one of those choices for me. I think I have to go with Dua Lipa just because that's my kind of music. I like fun music, and that album is something that I will throw on probably for the rest of my life. Same thing with Haim, which will be my other one. I'll just go both right in a row.
Sure.
Because Now I'm in It is one of the top songs that, it's, in my top 10 of the year. If I can hyperbilly it down to a smaller space here, maybe top 3 or 4. So those 2 albums I'll play for a really long time, like throughout my lifetime, because they're just that good. 2 different styles, but both of the highest value.
Yeah, Dua Lipa, without a doubt, would be mine. I think, like, just from airplay for that, but I'm not going to nominate. We can't put thing on the poll twice. I will then put, from the ones, I'll put After Hours by The Weeknd, and the unpopular one, I don't care. I'm going to put Tickets to My Downfall because it spent a lot of time in my head with Machine Gun Kelly. So the nominees for you to vote upon, I think both of us, I think Dua Lipa, I hope she wins a Grammy, by the way. I hope she takes it because this is her year. She owned it. She stepped up her game, taking her to the next level with this album. But we will have Dua Lipa, Plastic, a Nostalgia. You said
Future.
Future. No. Yeah. Future and Nostalgia. Sorry, I'm getting all confused with Miley Cyrus. After Hours by The Weeknd. Tickets to My Downfall by Machine Gun Kelly. And you said Haim, right?
Haim, Women in Music, Part 3.
Tree. All right. So those will be our nominations. You can vote at Pop Culture PD. We'll probably do a little recap on this the week of the Grammys once that comes up later in this month. But those will be our votes. I think we did great, Bill, because that's what we always do when it comes to this stuff.
News dump.
We got
Dr. Dre suffered a brain aneurysm and is in the ICU, according to our friend Kevin. So,
is this breaking news? Is this real?
Prayers, if obviously, if you're watching this live, the one person who is, I don't know if
It's
that's
multiple.
real
We
or
just
not.
we only see certain numbers. You know what's funny? If you're on different platforms, you see different numbers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've seen that with Mac and Goo before. But yeah, it's definitely horrible news if true, and hopefully Dr. Dre quick recovery to him. Absolutely horrible.
Yeah, I mean, I love Dr. Dre. Many. Yeah, speaking of music, he is one of the all-time great music producers, a great rapper. NWA, not much more to say. So thoughts and prayers to Dr. Dre. That's fucking awful.
Shared universe.
Billy Boy, do you know any of the things that happened in the Dork Shared Universe this week?
I haven't listened to much. It's been a busy week, but I know Mac and Goo did the 1989 classic Aliens or Alien.
Sure did.
I always forget. I know that Dork did the best of the best, Sir with Honors of 2020. They also made fun of you for your horrible take of saying everybody in the DSG was negative, and then said that you didn't like Avengers Endgame.
Okay, now I'm going to pause. I didn't hear that. They're grasping at straws. If they don't think that's true. Well, Keith's not even in the chat because he's too big time to be in the chat.
I don't think Keith is negative, though.
I'm not saying.
I don't think that Mac or Davey are negative, and we're doing the superlatives. I just think they're dicks. I think there's a difference.
I think people are more.
I think I am the most negative person in the DSG.
You rub off of me. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe I think of the DSG.
They didn't call you negative. They just said that you called people negative and then spouted off things that you haven't liked. A weird correlation because
what does that have to do with anything?
I think you not liking Avengers Endgame doesn't make you negative. It just makes you contrarian, if anything.
And if anything, I will say this again. It's not that I think it's a bad movie. I just was disappointed with it. I think
you were the only one.
That's fine. I'm fine. I will stand by it. I don't mind. I think at the end of the day, that movie could have been a lot better, should have been a lot better. I think they were very lazy. The movie had great scenes. I popped just as much as any other, comic book geek out there that watched it and loved every scene, and you got all the good stuff. But it just, Infinity War was superior, and they did so much more with so many more characters. And this movie had like 1/3 of the amount of characters for half the film. But again,
I wouldn't disagree with you that Infinity War is the better film, but I did not see too many things wrong. I just hate Captain America, and I thought that was his best movie. I thought that was his best movie ever.
No, did you not see Winter Soldier?
Winter Soldier's good, but like he is such a different character in Avengers Endgame. Like that's America's ass. I loved him in Endgame, and I think the way that they just deal with Thanos at the end with everybody from the the 3-on-1 fight to the when they all actually assemble.
We're gonna have to review the movie. It's going to have to happen. And maybe we'll invite some of these very positive people on the podcast. Maybe it could be a DSG exclusive because there's so many things. I did a podcast with Keith where he basically just bullied me for 40 minutes and barely let me speak. Might need a redux. Maybe I'll just fight with him on this. Fight is in like joking because I don't really dislike anybody just in case any of that ever gets misconstrued. I don't like trilogies. That's true. Second movies and trilogies always suck. Prove me wrong. With all that, the stakes aren't there. They're just not there. Okay. Also, Bill, our good friends at the Change My Mind podcast, they did also a year in review of 2020.
Oh, how rude.
I'm going to stay silent during these things so people always remember where to point their rubber bullets. With all that being said, Bill, we got a lot of stuff that we can do.
Time, Doc, and Davey.
They be streaming. They be streaming. And I get that as a notification when it's time to shine. I always click in. I give it a view. I might not stay for long, but I check it out. I'm into it. I think we should all support anybody that's part of this and anybody creating out there, whether it's friends, family, anything, go check that stuff out. And I guess this is a great time to also say, listen, it's been a weird, wild year. And your eyes and your ears have a million of choices at your fingertips at all time. I have a second computer right here. Like I could be watching TV, I could be doing stuff on my phone, but you've decided to give, whether it's 1 minute, the full boat, whatever it is, time to the Pop Culture Piledriver, Billy D and myself. Thank you. Like, thank you for taking the time. Like, in your life, like, every minute is so important. And the fact that you listen to this about average podcast is pretty damn special to us, and we appreciate that. Our listenership was freaking great this past year. We have a hosting website that shows you, like, it's like we started this with wrestling, great numbers there. Moved on and collaborate and evolved it. numbers are still great. So like, not that that matters, but like that makes me sometimes remember like, holy crap, like maybe there's only a few people watch us on YouTube when it's live, but there's a lot of people that this thing will go out to. And I got to thank obviously all of our friends in the DSG for any pumping up they do. But like really, like you guys spending the time, whether it's here to listen to my stupid things or Billy being just mean, whatever it is, like appreciate it. So thank you. Thank you for taking time out of your day, wherever you finding us. Appreciate that. So 2 thumbs up to you. You're the real hero.
Yeah, even if it's a hate listen, we still count it as a listen.
Hate listens are actually probably our biggest listen. I feel like Fryer probably rallies like his whole family to listen to it. By the way, I pwned that dude last week. I pwned him. And I don't really take victory. He said something about like how because I said I wanted to like Wonder Woman. He's like, this is the same guy who didn't like Avengers Endgame. I said, it's not that I didn't want to like it. It's just that I didn't like it.
So victory lap for me, maybe? Not even really, because I had a feeling they would do it because I listened to How Did This Get Made, which is probably my favorite non-DSG podcast. And they had something, Paul Sheard, the guy who's basically the host of it, posted something on his Instagram, like some stream that they were doing with Jason Mantzoukas and 2 other people they regularly have on the show and they just kind of broke it down. They were like, I think we should do this movie. So if they do, like they did the Meg recently. Like they do movies that do come. Like I actually love that movie.
Oh, there's nothing to love. It's so dumb.
Oh, I loved it. Yeah, I loved it.
It's Jason Statham jumping sharks. It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, and I think it's because I listened to the podcast first, and then I watched it.
See, I saw that in theater day of release.
Oh my god! Then
I'm a shark guy.
I would be disappointed, but I do love it in hindsight, and I also love Jack Frost because I think is
Frost? Which one, the horror movie or the one with Michael Keaton?
The one with Michael Keaton, because it is a podcast they did with Dan Harmon, and I think it's the best one that they've ever done. I think it's their best podcast, and I'd never seen it previously. So right after I heard it, I was like, I have to watch this movie, and having their commentary in my head while I watch it made it enjoyable, and that does it with a lot of their things. So I think Goo's a big fan of them. So if anybody who's listening to this doesn't listen to them, add that to your podcast rotation because it's my favorite podcast of all time.
Dig. All right. See, like that's like obviously, I'm a big wrestling fan. Like that's what I love about some of those. Like it makes you go back and rewatch some old matches or old storylines and go, that was intriguing. Or that's what they were doing. So yeah, all that stuff is great. And obviously these guys aren't necessarily doing it from a factual standpoint, but at least just give you like comedic insights. And like are in the business, so they know. So that's good. If
you liked The League and you like Raffi, if you like Jason Mantzoukas, it's basically him for 90 to 2 hours, unfiltered, being and like he is a little bit toned down from the character in the show, but the character in the show is him. Like it's so good. So if you like The League, you'll like this because Paul Sheard is
They're also guys from Big
Andre.
Mouth.
Yeah,
don't shy off Big Mouth now, and that's the hot new show now. This is also both of them were in this season. They brought him in as one of the brothers, and then he also played one of the camp kids at camp. But yeah, I agree. Like you introduced me to that podcast a while ago. I pop in and out or I'll listen to old nostalgic ones, nostalgic older ones they released because of something I'm interested in at the time, and they're funny, dude. It's a good pair, and they used to do a lot of them live, so the audio is much better, I think, in this current situation, personally. But enough about all that, Bill. We're going to get the heck out of here. Next week, who the hell knows? Who the hell knows what the future is going to take? But we're going to do something. It's going to be fantastic. You're going to love it. Thank you, guys. Again, vote on our poll for what you believe is the best album that we have nominated. We title it that way, so then when Davey comes out and goes, none of these, like a real true douche, we can't really say that because I write in there of the following, which is the best, not which is the best. And then you put 4 because then people can say that. But of the following, what is the best album of 2020? Please vote on it. Appreciate you guys. Bill, any final words for the good folks?
I think we did nominate. I think I'm actually going to listen to Machine Gun Kelly while I play my Madden game right now because I really enjoyed that album. So I think we did a good job.
Yeah, if you're of the age of 30 or above, go listen to that Machine Gun Kelly because it's going to take you back about 10 to 15 years of straight up nostalgia, punk rock of the 2000s.
And I'll tell you, somebody that I went on a date with, it was a terrible date, and they recommended that album. And I was like, it was a terrible date. Should I listen to this album? To whoever that person was, you know who you are if you're listening, which you're probably not, but thank you.
Frank says hi.